alaikum dosto, Ramzan Mubarak. I hope आप सब ठीक ठाक हो. Today I'm making a video about different things I've made over the Ramzan period, and there's some recipes from before as well, just to give you some ideas and some inspiration, some veg and some non-veg recipes to help get you through Ramzan. So what I'm doing is I've started off with channay pilau, which if you're a subscriber to my channel you'll have seen me made before, and I'll put a link into that specific recipe and all the ingredients to it. So that's just basically you're sauteing the onions and the spices and the chickpeas, and you put in your water and your soaked rice, and then you let it absorb. So this is a good, really filling recipe with the protein, the carbs from the chickpeas, and it's tasty, and the chickpeas makes it more filling, so you're not really missing the meat. So I'd really recommend something like this. And during Ramzan you need something that's not always deep fried, and it's filling and tasty. So you can see this as a result. So once the rice absorbed the stock, and then I just let it cook on dum for 10 minutes, which is just like on a low heat, putting a towel in the lid, dry towel, and that'll absorb any excess moisture. So this is the end result. Really, really nice. Highly recommend it. Very tasty. So another thing that I made was aloo tikki, or potato patties. So this is another non-meat option. So boiled and mashed potatoes, and you can literally make this however you want. Make it as plain, make it as spicy as you want. And I chopped up some red onions. You can chop them up finer than this, but I like quite a bit of a crunch, so that's why mine are quite big. And then I put in some fresh coriander. And this is one green chilli, which was really spicy. I didn't de-seed it because I like it quite spicy, but it was a bit too much for my son to eat, so next time I wouldn't put that in. Or maybe avoid the green chilli and just flavour the mixture with your dry spices. So I'm giving that a good mixture here. Then I'm adding in the spices that I want, so I go generous with the black pepper. 2 spoons of black pepper, red chili powder, a little bit of salt, cumin seeds, coriander powder, and lots of parsley. Now you can adjust this, you can add in more or less of what you want. And I added in cheese as well, just to make it more like crispy and tasty. And the best way at this point, when you've put everything in that you want, mash it all up with your hands, and then at that point you can put it in the fridge to set, and then whenever you're ready to make, just shape the patties, dip them in some egg. You can even dip them in breadcrumbs as well. I didn't have breadcrumbs, so I just fried them once they were coated in egg. And it's nice, you can put them into a burger and some like green chutney and some tomato sauce and some red onions and tomatoes, and so you can make it into like a proper burger, and it gives you like a really nice filling effect. Or you can just have this as a wee side or a starter to your main. Have it with, if you watched my previous video, previous clip, there was rice. Some people have these kind of things like a chamois idea. I don't like chamois, so this would be an alternative if you want something that's non-veg, non-meat to have alongside with your rice. So this is another rice recipe, and this is a meat option, so it's lamb yakhni pilau. So basically I put everything into a pot: onion, the lamb, your garlic, ginger, salt, pepper, chilies, cumin, all your spices, dry red chilies, and your whole black pepper. Just popped all of that into the pan, let it cook, let it almost braise, then add in water, just to kind of get some of the flavour out from the bones into the water, and then when it starts to boil, add in the soaked rice. You need to soak them for about 20 minutes, depending on what kind of texture of rice you want. That's about the ideal time to soak them, and it means that you get a nice fluffy texture. So I put the rice in to this stock, and I'm bringing it to the boil, and when they reduce, I'm going to do my normal thing, which if you're a subscriber you'll have seen me do before, putting in the towel into the lid and closing the lid really tightly and putting the rice on a really low heat to allow it to cook slowly, and for the rice to absorb all the water it needs to, and the rest of the water moisture you want it to evaporate. So you can see the water's reduced significantly. This is when you put the towel in the lid, and then you let it reduce and cook it for 10 minutes on a really low heat, and this is the result. Lovely, fluffy, beautifully cooked rice with lamb, and there's no moisture. You can see in the pan that there's no moisture left. Rice is a really good idea if you've got nothing else to make, and it's so versatile. You can add vegetables in it. You can put in like potatoes and peas, aloo matar, channay, which is chickpeas, or lamb or chicken. It's really tasty, really filling, gives you lots of energy, full of carbs, and you've got your lamb there with the protein, so that's an option. If you don't want to eat too much rice, that's up to yourself. We like rice in our house, so we don't eat it a lot. In this video there's quite a few occurrences of it, but it's just to give you ideas. I often watch these videos, and that's how I get ideas about what I want to make, or I'll tweak recipes, or I'll adapt the recipes that I make. This is another day I made aloo matar, so I'm just trying to show you the versatility of the rice. I didn't show the full recipe because it's the same idea as before. So you fry the onions, and you put in all the spices and your potatoes, and then you put in your stock, and then your soaked rice, and that's it. That was beautifully fluffy rice, a little bit darker in colour because I really cooked the onions. The longer you cook the onions for, the darker your rice will be, and here's an example of how dark it had gotten. The next recipe I'm about to show you is my go-to peri peri marinade, and on this day I've used this marinade for chicken legs, but I cooked it on the barbecue. So I don't know if you've seen this recipe before. If you're my subscriber, it's just peppers, red and yellow peppers, onion, 1 red onion, garlic, olive oil, lemon juice, and what I did was blend that first because there's quite a few things already in the blender, and then when it reduced, that's when I added in the spices. So paprika, red chili powder, chili flakes, salt, and that's oregano, mixed herbs. So you add all that in, and dried chilies as well. This is depending on how spicy you want it, and it is just a case of mixing that. There's quite a lot there. You wouldn't need this amount. You would probably need a half or a quarter to cover the chicken legs, but I wanted some for another recipe, and I wanted it as a dip as well. You can mix this dip straight with mayonnaise and make like a peri-naise, or you can just have your cooked chicken with that actual sauce. What I'm doing here is making little parcels, so I'm just putting the 2 peri chicken legs into foil, covering it with a little bit of onions, and then wrapping it up to put it on the barbecue, just so it cooks a lot nicer and it contains all the flavour. This sauce is really good. You can keep it in the fridge for days, add it to things. If you've watched any of my other videos, I've made peri rice, I've made peri chicken. It can go on like lamb chops, it can go on different things because there's lemon juice, there's acidity in it, and there's that richness from the olive oil and the peppers. It adds something to it that's really nice. In the current climate with lockdown, you can't go out to your favourite restaurant, so you're having to make the best of what you have at home. And as I'm trying to make frugal recipes that that can last a long, that can kind of go a long way, and making the best use of what you have, because sometimes for obscure ingredients you can't always go out. So this is kind of really versatile dishes. You can see here I left the chicken to marinate for a few hours, and then we cooked it on our barbecue. And then for Seri that day, we had fruit and ruafsha and chips, and this is how I served it. So with some sauce, some fries, and the chicken, and it was really nice, really moist. Okay, and another day I made, and this actually, myself and my husband and my children, we didn't eat this. I actually made this and sent it over to my mum and dad's house for their dinner. This is peri peri chicken pizza. Going back to that idea of the sauce being very versatile, I added some of the sauce in to this recipe, into the chicken. You'll see that going forward. So here I've got some plain flour. I've activated the yeast and sugar and water, and then I've put it into the flour and mixed it up, and I've added in some oil as well. It's really easy. I mean, I'm not the best, I'm not the biggest bread maker or dough maker, but this is like really easy. You're just adding it all, adding the yeast into the flour and mixing it all up as you would with dough for chapatis or parathas. And then we're going to cover it up and leave it in a hot area, or next to a radiator or something, for a few hours for it to rise. While that's rising, I cooked some chicken strips, and once I've cooked them, I added in some of my flavouring. So I've added in like salt, pepper, paprika, red chilli powder, chilli flakes. You can really do whatever you want at this stage, add whatever you like. This was going to my mum and dad's house. There's kids there, and I didn't want to make it too spicy, so I kind of went easy on the spices. Normally I would add in a bit more if it was for myself and my husband. So you can see here, this is the peri marinade going into it. So I've just touched the chicken with some light spices, your basic, your salt, pepper, your chilli, and then I've added in some of the peri marinade. And then once that's absorbing all the spices, I've added in the red onions and the pepper, just so it can take on that flavour as well. It's obviously fine to add on raw vegetables onto the pizza base, but this really coats it in the marinade and the spices, and it makes it really nice. It makes it like Domino's or like your local takeaway. It makes it to that level, which is nice to have that kind of food when you can't go out. So I've added a little bit of oregano there, and you don't need to overcook this at all. You're just coating the vegetables and the chicken with the spices. You can see I added a wee touch of lemon juice. That's optional as well. That just makes it a little bit fresh. Whilst the chicken mixture is cooling down, we want to check how the dough is getting on. You can see that it's risen, so we're just kind of knocking the air out, and we're just going to knead it a little bit more just to make it nice and smooth, get any bumps out. So I've added a little bit of flour just to kind of smooth it and make the dough nice as well. So that's all I'm doing, just knocking out any air, making it nice and smooth. And you can see it's not that much hard work, nothing's sticking to my hands, which I have a total phobia about. So I used that mixture, the dough, split it into two, and I've just spread it on a lined, it's like a pizza tray. So I've just spread it out. You can spread it, you can use like a rolling pin if you want to, but I think it's nicer to do it with your hands and just spread it out. Nice, fresh, clean hand, just push it all out. So I've made one square because I had a square tray and I had a circular tray as well. So here I'm just kind of making it round. And when I've finished doing that, I'm just going to pierce the base with a fork all over on both of the doughs. And I'm just trying to make it even here as well. You can see I'm just checking with my hands that it's nice and even. Now I'm just going to add shop bought pizza topping. You can obviously make this at home, But during Ramadan, when you're at home in lockdown, you don't really want to be spending a lot of time doing this kind of stuff. So 1 jar is enough for 2 pizzas. So I've just covered both of the bases with this sauce. Now all you have to do is cover each of the pizzas evenly with the topping that we've made, so just the chicken and the veggies. You can add whatever topping you like, sweet corn, you can add mushrooms. I did that for both pizzas. And now I'm just going to cover them generously with cheese. I've used mozzarella. This I have frozen in the house because sometimes you don't always use it. That's why you can see it's a bit difficult for me to crumble. But the texture is absolutely fine. The result's really, really good. Once you've added in cheese, you can add in different cheeses as well, grated and cheddar and whatever other cheese you like. And then you can just top with some oregano as well. So you can add red chili flakes, salt, pepper, whatever else you want to top. Because I was making this less spicy, this is how I topped it. And you just put it into the oven. You can even cover it at this stage and then make later on the day. If you've prepared in the morning and you want to make this as your dinner for tonight, I left it at this stage and then I passed the pizzas over to my mum who cooked them. You just cook them in a 180 degree oven just for about 20 minutes or until they're golden brown or to your preferred texture. And this was the end result. They were really nice, golden brown, crispy, and my mum took a slice out as well to show me, so I didn't eat any of this. I just passed it over to them for them to eat and they really, really liked it. The next dish I made was lamb Dasdi Ki Briyani, so it's a shoulder cut biryani. And I started off with getting a really, really large pot. I've made this mistake before where I've not used the right size pot. The bigger the pot, or the handi if you want, or the karhai, the more the rice has room to grow, essentially. So what I'm doing is just cutting 2 onions straight into the pan, and what I'm going to do is fry them off. And when they kind of get slightly brown, then I'm going to take about half of them out. Now this day my daughter was being really, really naughty. I didn't have the time to marinate the lamb the way that I wanted to, so once I took it out of the freezer in the morning and then I defrosted it, I covered the yogurt, the meat with yogurt, and it's like a mutton biryani mix. Most of the biryani mixes are much the same, so I added that on, and garlic and ginger paste, and I put it straight into this pan. So I mixed this really well, garlic ginger paste, yogurt, mutton biryani mix, and just make sure that it's really combined. At this stage you should really leave it to marinade in the fridge. And also I like to cover the tomatoes in the same marinade. So as you can see here, the onions are really nice the way that I like them to be brown, so I just took about half of them out, and then I added in the lamb shoulder straight into this hot pan, and then I just let that cook on a really low heat. Because of the kind of cut of meat it was, we like to make sure we get all the nutrients out of the bone and to make sure that the lamb's cooked enough. So, and because this day I was really, really busy with the kids, I didn't have the time and love and energy to give to this biryani as I normally would, so I just left it for about 30-40 minutes on a low heat. I just kept coming and turning it, mixing it all up. So I did that, and I just added in all the rest of the marinade, and then you can see after that amount of time how much the texture has changed of the lamb. In another pot I just got as much rice as I wanted, so I've got a really large mug full of rice, and I just washed it to get all the starch out, and then I put it into this pot. And what I've put in here is cumin, cinnamon, peppercorns, black pepper, all my whole spices, whatever you want. You can even leave this plain if the biryani mixture is enough for you. So once your rice are fluffy and cooked, You just want them to be 3/4 cooked, not fully cooked, because what we're going to do now is layer the biryani. So I've took half of the lamb out here, and then I've put in about half of the rice. So I've just made one layer of that, and then what to do is, just to give it that proper biryani feel, I added in some garam masala into that layer. And I didn't have fresh, I just had some frozen coriander and mint leaves. And then I added in the rest of the meat mixture and the browned onions that we took out at an earlier stage, and then the rest of the rice goes in at this point. Normally you can add in more layers, but for me I just needed it to be quick on that day because it was hard having a rosa and looking after the kids. And on this layer, this is optional, you can add in some drops of yellow food colouring, and what I like to do is add a little bit more garam masala, some more of your coriander and mint leaves, and you can see I put in a couple of knobs of butter, and I left it for about 13 minutes on a really low heat. I didn't put the towel in because there's not a lot of moisture there to be absorbed. I wanted all the flavour to go into the rice, and voila, you can see the result. Now, to make sure that everything gets coated really well and mixed up, give it a really good mix, because there'll be little bits of yellow rice, there'll be little bits of plain rice, and then all the masala is basically at the bottom of the handy. And it's really impressive. So you can see biryani seems really intimidating, and for me, with having little kids, a house, a husband to look after, you have to sometimes find shortcuts. So this isn't your 100% authentic way to cook it, but it works for me. And that's my husband waving in the camera. This is why it's hard to film these videos with a family and husband who want to try and get in on the action. And you can hear my son here as I'm doing the voiceover giggling. So this was the final result. I didn't get a plate of it, but this gives you an idea of one of the meals. So another recipe that I made on one day, I had some lamb keema. So what I did was I defrosted it, got all the moisture out of it, and then in a little mixing bowl I put in tomatoes, garlic, ginger, cumin, and I put in any spices that you want in. Ideally, cumin seeds, coriander seeds are really complementary to this cut of meat. It tastes really nice. And for my son as well, I like there's nothing in that gets in his way, anything that I like it to be totally smooth. And also in that paste I've added in green chilli, a little bit of green chilli but not too much. And you can see here I'm adding in the coriander seeds and the cumin, and I'm giving it another mix just so there's nothing that, just so that the kebabs are nice and soft and there's nothing that gets in or is like too grizzly and crunchy. So that mixture basically goes. So what I did was first added in a chicken reshmi kebab mix. Not saying this is ideal, this is my husband's technique of cooking. Whatever masala we've got in, we'll add that in to the meat, or if he's making a handy or something. So he suggested to me to put that in, and the green paste that I've made. So as you can see, I've mixed that up really well, and you can leave it at that, but I've added in some additional spices. I've added in some chili flakes, some salt, pepper, red chili powder, and that's some cumin powder and some coriander powder. That's your black pepper. And all you would do now is give it a good mix, and if there is anything else you want to add, feel free, make it the way that you want. I have to adjust my spices for the kids. And what I've just added in there is a little bit of gram flour as well. That takes out any moisture and it combines the mixture really well. So you want the kebabs to come together. You don't want them to break and crumble as they cook. So mix that up. If you can get in there with your hands, great, ideal. I have a weird thing. I hate having to do it unless I have to, but get in there with your hands as best you can and mix it all up. Then we let it chill in the fridge, and then my husband shaped it. He shapes them really, really nice. And what I did was put them onto our barbecue and cook them. It gave a nice smoky taste. You can't even cook them in the grill or in the oven. Whatever is best and easiest for you. We just bought this new barbecue, this small one, so we were just trying it out. You can see it's the first time we're using it. We haven't put enough charcoal on it, but it did give quite a smoky effect. So it didn't take too long to cook. Actually, I think it took about 20 minutes to cook, and they were really, really nice. What we did was put them into burgers and eat them. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Thank you.
Like, share, comment and subscribe.